thing I like about Ready, Fit, Go is it's on Pacific Coast Highway. So whether you're like in the blue zone, which we really don't have these in Oklahoma, and I think we should. So Mayor Holt, blue zones, they work, they're cool. It's a zone that people expect police officers and emergency workers to come and go from. And Ready, Fit, Go is one of those places. When I was young, I used to want to be a bodybuilder. And I worked out with my friend Jonathan Hughes from Oklahoma. And we thought he might be an Olympian someday. And I think when you get involved in things at a young age, you don't really understand what they cost. And it's a tremendous amount of money. And this is a way to do it cost efficiently. And even if it just teaches you how to meal prep and cook, which I've done some of it, and it takes a lot of time. So if you're a pregnant mom or super dad or whatever, it takes quite the commitment, but it's possible. So like recipe sharing, it's pretty cool. I don't know if it's like Napster stealing music cool, but it's definitely a trade, like a union trade you might want to learn. I'm ready for the election. I can barely talk right now. My esophagus is like fighting for its life. Can't wait to get some records cut and some monies made so I can support some things that I really love deep down, and some things that are at the tip of my root, from family to friend, from beating cancer to counterterrorism, and all this crap we're watching on TV finally being brought to light. Kids running around with guns in their hand. It wasn't cool when I was a kid. And our friends today, our colleagues today, our rap stars today, they warned us all about it. They talked about it. The crier voice was different then than it is now, and people grow up and have an understanding of why certain events took place or why they were allowed to take place, and where it's led us into future, what the finish line was as far as gang violence and tolerance, and where the starting line is to never doing it again or allowing it to happen again. And things like the Sandy Hook Promise is one of those vehicles. And I've lost people in my life, including my father, that are irreplaceable, that are hard to talk about. And this woman and her husband, in fact, I saw her husband talk a couple days ago, are out there talking on video about how their child was left lifeless at 10 years old. And if you go and do some homework, I'm not a genius at gun law or even writing a bill. Maybe I'll get to do that someday, but they understand that a lot of work was put in from the Clinton administration through the Obama administration to put an end to large magazines. And if we don't stay real honest with ourselves, we'll lose that. And somebody that was taught that violence is okay, or that was taught a skewed version of political rights. I hesitate to even call putting an automatic weapon in your child's hand an American right. It's wrong. And it's wrong for a child to develop some McDonald's French fry theory with something that can take the life of a child or a parent too early. When I lost my dad, it was to a bomb made out of fertilizer and diesel fuel in a borrowed vehicle. The Sandy Hook Promise can't be a borrowed vehicle into the future, because you can go to Walmart and buy bullets. You can go to any gun store, and if you've decided to start crime in your life, you say you're a hands clean American civilian, and you get mad from losing your job at work, or maybe even just losing your wife or something, and you take some kiddo or wingman into a store with you that was trained to use that in a light that's really unaccepted. Can change years and years of good family seed and years of good legal seed. And it can break down campaigns and commitments and promises of never again, and we'll never allow someone to not understand the impact of violence. Strong commitments like that. People don't just campaign and run for an office because money's involved. They actually fall in love with their ideas, and they actually fall in love with being a peacekeeper, and they fall in love with yielding good fruit, and they fall in love with teaching students. They fall in love with their alma maters. They fall in love with their memorials and their opportunities to pay time and tribute to memorials. I recently learned that WME agency, which I'm looking at signing with, has the CFO, one of the assistant officers for Black Lives Matters. And whenever Black Lives Matters started, I was kind of on this, well, I'm a Christian, I was raised a Christian, all lives matter and all lives have to matter so that you can account for your neighbor, so that you can be accountable to yourself. And though that's true, it's a different system. So if I hear all lives matter, I'm thinking that's a church system, that's really a biblical system, whether it's a Hebrew, a Jewish system, or a Catholic system, or a Baptist system, is a completely different topic. It becomes like a theological debate. It becomes a historical review, and where wars started and ended becomes really your concrete evidence. Black Lives Matter is not Instagram. It's not Facebook. It's a company. It's a voice for a people to go above and beyond the census, to go above and beyond the church, and to go above and beyond juvenile affairs and adult affairs. And that turned me on at a high level. It helped me put my chin to this spot where wherever I need to come down to understand this heart from now on, I need to do that. And it's really the same way with the LGBTQ. Many of you know that I lived with Dr. Russell, and Dr. Russell is outspokenly gay, and I've met most of his family. Most of his family are doctors, and most of them are straight. And Dr. Russell would ride me about how important the LGBTQ was, and I would kind of just joke with him, and we became really good friends. And we did a lot of neat things together and traveled together and spent some money together. And in fact, he has a little bit of stock in my company. He believed that some of the lyrics that I was writing on paper could be interpreted by a different people. And it was really stubborn of me to think, well, it's just my local Oklahoma radio, or it's just my evangelical church friends or following that watched me grow up singing in the church or come to age in the church. Or maybe it's just my family going, well, those are really, kind of the words of your grandma, from Baptist or Methodist Alabama or small town Holdenville. And just like Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ is not Instagram. It's not Facebook. It's really the heartbeat of a company. It's really corporate America. It's closer to capitalism. But it's just like that president that fell in love with his alma mater, or the promise that he made to the people. Whether it was George W. Bush in a classroom reading a book when 9/11 rung every bell in the world at one time, or at least on one day, or whether it was Mr. Clinton on April 19th, 1995, or the Oklahoma Senator Jim Inhofe, who was a rookie to the Senate then, and he's in 25 years of tenure now. So what a rude awakening for people that were literally trying to keep their promise. They weren't trying to derail an entire campaign because of madmen or terrorists. And you can even say that with COVID-19 outbreaking, that Donald Trump has had to deal with some of that. I think some facts will come out that will help us breed a better future. But in fact, keeping our promises and understanding the difference between a lobby and a peaceful protest, and understanding the difference in financial commitment and the system it's committed to versus Instagram or Facebook, is going to save lives in the future. It's going to create jobs and degrees and scholarships, and it's going to create leaders understanding those simple things.